Greetings, my 250,000 shimmering jewels, and jewels be the theme of today's episode. So after the disappointment of the missing jewels in our 44 jewel stingray video, which we can view here later, I had a rummage through my workload and found another watch that claims to have a bazillion jewels. And when I say bazillion, I mean 39.
GIRARD PERREGAUX and Co. Gyromatic 39 jewels. So let's see if this time we can find 39 jewels. It's got a full wind in there, but it doesn't want to go. Some nasty scratches here. So you can see here the previous efforts by someone on this rotor. Looks like somebody used a pair of tweezers to try and get that little clip on, and they've just butchered it.
So I've lost the footage where I usually show you how battered the watch is in the beginning of the show, but that doesn't matter really in this episode, as this watch isn't a basket case like many of the others that I do. So not a dramatic restoration and not something I would usually have filmed, but I still wanted to film this to see if this time we can find all the jewels. So this is a 39 jewel gyromatic by GIRARD PERREGAUX, one of the oldest watch brands still in existence today, which was founded before the deluge in 1791. Okay, maybe not pre-flood, but still, that's pretty old. GIRARD PERREGAUX is famous for its 3 golden bridges and produced its first tourbillon in 1889. They were also one of the first companies to produce nearly every element of a watch in-house, from in-house movements to every other aspect in producing a complete watch.
These hands and markers, I think, are also solid gold. Looks like somebody's had a go at it before. Ooh, look at that really cool date disc in that lovely blue color. I love that date disc. Got a bit of a Ming Dynasty feel about it, hasn't it? Oh yeah. I'll try and remove this clip using something that's softer than itself. If you try and use tweezers or anything for this, you will scratch it, as is what's happened. There you go. That hairspring doesn't look very good. You can see how it's overlapped in some areas. It's probably why the movement wasn't running. So it could be just grease or it could be something else. So you can see here how it's folded onto it. So I'll just have to untangle that somehow and see if that resolves it. So I've clamped the stud. I'm having to use some makeshift tools here. So I want to bring it up this way and hopefully untangle it from there. See if I can record it. There you see it's coming up. So we brought it right up to the top, release the stud. And it's probably just one more little loop, which is probably just the stud itself that's gone underneath somehow. We just need to feed that stud underneath and up, and voila. Make sure everything's alright. So our hairspring is going to go in between those 2 little pins there. So after putting the balance back in, it's actually running now. So let's have a look on the timer graph. So that's not bad at all actually. So now I'll just continue to dismantle it and clean it and let's see if we can sort that out after a clean, but it seems to be okay actually. So that was an easy little fix on the hairspring. Oh, that was a very shallow screw. I was expecting something a lot longer than that. You can see how long that one is, and that one's short as well. What's going on here? What is going on? So check it out. As you may remember from the Stingray video, we were supposed to have dual bearings on the automatic works, and on this one, to make up all those extra jewels, there are some jewels on the automatic rotor. Cool, huh? Oh yeah. So you can see how flush this driving wheel is sitting. It gives me hardly any room to get a tool underneath it. On the Amigas there's a little bit of a gap, but on this one can't see any gap whatsoever, and you can see somebody struggled with it previously as well. Voila. So just a few battle scars, but it's still good. It's good. Screws feel so loose. So whoever was working on it before had a bit of a hard time and probably thought I'm just going to put it back somehow and just kick it down the road. Ooh, look at that. Delicious. Let's remove the spring. And let's remove the bridge. Again, all the screws are loose. So let's remove this little pinion first. The center seconds. Bridge should come out. Now we can remove the train bridge. And all the screws are loose again. That's stuck to the cannon pinion, so we'll remove that in a bit. It's no biggie. Spinning wheel. The mainspring is very skinny, so it should slide out. So we'll just remove the pallet. Okay, so for the data disc, we've got these 3 screws by the looks of it. Just move the jumper out of the way. That is lovely, that is. And that is, looks pretty dirty, like somebody trod on it. The hour wheel. Tiny. There's the jumper. The accountant won't give me a manicure because she likes her caveman. So I've ordered my daughter a kit and she's gonna give me a manicure from now on. There's another awesome little spring here. Oh, it's neat. Then our little wheels here should come out. Center wheel. Fitting lever screw. Now that is definitely not a Girard Perregaux crown. And this is the thing with all the extra jewels. Now that one was stiff. So maybe they didn't touch this part of the watch, or they didn't get this far. So now we can see these two wheels, reversing wheels. So this is where all the extra jewels are. There's 7 on that one, then there's 7 on that one as well. That's also quite interesting. Whole removable ink block unit. Whoa, you disgusting little... That's nasty. So, surprisingly, for an automatic with a calendar complication, there isn't that many parts. Compare that to the Omega Jedi I'm working on, which is Omega's most complicated chronograph ever. Now that has a lot of parts. So we got 4 springs on this one. Put all the springs and screws into one. And also these 2 reversing gears with the jewels in them. I want to keep them separate. So I'm going to put them in separate compartments in the basket. I'll put one in this one and one in this one, as I don't want to cause any damage to those jewels. Made a meal and threw it up on Sunday. I've got a lot of things to learn. Ding! So I've got a nice little plexi here. Just needs a little polish. Nothing too crazy. We've got quite a bit of gold here, so we'll weigh all that up and polish it by hand. You've seen me use the lapping machine over the past few videos. I don't want to lose even a fart's weight of gold, so I'm going to do this really carefully and see if we can keep these really sharp lines by using some tape and maybe the Dremel. So we have some really sharp straight lines. The lapping machine would take off a lot of gold. So let's see if we can keep all those sharp straight lines and still give this a nice little polish by hand using the Dremel, or maybe some of my sticks. Right, so let's have a look how much all this weighs. So we've got 13.8 grams of gold there. That's pretty nice as it is. Nothing major, just some fine swirls. So you can just use a bit of polywatch on that. Might give it a little rub down with a really fine sandpaper first. Now this is 7,000 grit. Let's see if we can get rid of that slightly noticeable one with the 7,000 grit. If not, I'll go a little bit lower. Got some 5,000, 3,000, and everything else in between. So the 5,000 is getting rid of those fine swirls, but you can see that noticeable one, even though it's very light. Might need a little bit more rubbing with the 5, or if I want to get it done quicker, then I'll have to move down a few grades. But I'm going to keep going with the 5 and see what happens. Yeah. Now let's go back on the 7,000 grit, that is. See that? Now we can get a little bit of polywatch on there. And that should come out minty. And we'll see how that looks after a wash. And we can move on.
Now, I know some of you who like to do a bit of polishing are envious of my lapping machine, but don't be. Who needs an expensive lapping machine when you have sticks, tape, super glue, and some special polishing pads? I made these to polish the markers later on, but we'll have a play on the case with it and see what happens.
I've created this very technical piece of engineering which has been patented. So I'm using that 7000 grit paper to see what happens with it. But you can see how rough it is. And from afar you can't really tell. But when you get close up you can see years and years of marks that have built up. Getting there. Slowly but surely it's getting there. So you can see the contrast between that and that. And you can see that sharp line still there. So are all these little lines. Gold is so soft. You just round everything off if you were to take it on a machine. Now we'll do the same all over. Do a bit of taping here and there. There's the back. You can just see a really deep one there. I'm not going to try and take that out. Otherwise we will end up losing a lot of gold. I'll just give that a final little buff. Also you can see some of the really deep tool marks. Again, if we were to take those out, then we'd lose a bit more gold. It's all a case of how much you're willing to lose. And there's the bezel. Just needs a final buff. I'm sure there are easier ways to do this. These are just some things, some techniques you can use at home just to make sure that you don't round everything off. If you prep well, then even with your home DIY tools, you should be able to get a good result.
Now we've taped up this side, and we'll do that little angle there. Now I think the only way to appreciate those accents is to give it a contrast. So I think I'll give that small bit there a bit of a straight grain. It'll look nice when it's all washed up. A lot of grease on there at the moment. So we had, what was it, 13.8 grams. And it's still 13.8 grams.
These hands and markers, I think, are also solid gold. I don't know why someone messed around with the markers. They seem like they've been scratched and fiddled around with. The only thing that they haven't touched is the 39, which looks like it's in original state. Everything else looks like it's been fiddled around with. So we'll try and sort that out.
My dial feet are so big, don't even fit. So I'm using my little rat tail. I'm going to give that 3, 6 and 9 a little polish. So these indices are gold. So you can see how far I've got to go.
Got a lot of scratches and marks on them. It'd be really nice to give them a mirror polish. These are solid gold dolphin hands, which is supposed to have a ridge in the middle, but it looks like it's been flattened out. So I'm getting there.
There's the minute hand. You can see the state of that as well. So there you go. It's not super duper fine, but a lot better than before, I would say. And we'll just wash them all up. Looks pretty clean. Oh yeah, nice and clean. Also, nice and clean. Even though this watch is an automatic, this looks like a manual wind mainspring. But in fact, if you look inside the barrel, you can actually see a separate little bit there is the bit that slips round. Just like a manual mainspring, you'd hook onto this little hook there. But then this whole part of the spring
will start to slip once the mainspring is fully wound. I'll see if I can remove that actually. So there's that little bit. So now I can weld the walls of the barrel and then stick this bit on. So it's like a two-part sort of mainspring. Okay, so this time I want to count all the jewels. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 2 on the shock setting. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6, and then on the automatic bridge we have another 4. So that's 10. 2 on the pallet fork, so that's 12. 1 on the cock for the pallet fork, so that's 13. And the bridge, train bridge, another 3, so that's 16. And then on the barrel bridge we have another 3, so that's 19. And then the balance we have another 2, so that's 21. On the automatic cover bridge thingy we have another 3, so that's 24. And then we have 7 inside here, so that's 31. And another 7 on the other reversing wheel, 38. Ooh, we're missing 1. Let's find it. Plus, I forgot the roller jewel, and that's our 39. Woohoo! Put a little bit of lubrication here on the center wheel, or you can just put it on that jewel there. Just get that setting lever screw in. The little seconds pinion, put a bit of oil on the shaft. Let's just check that everything. Oh! Our screwdrivers' heads are falling off. Let's see if everything moves nice and free. I'm free wherever I... Now let's put our little driving wheel back on. Just use a hand press tool, like so. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Let's oil some jewels. There isn't a jewel there, but how dare you not put a jewel there? Could have made it 40 jewels. I mean, why would you leave a jewel out there? Look at that. That's the pivot for the third wheel, I think. But they've put a steel bearing there rather than a jeweled one. I think they thought if we take it to 40 jewels, then people will think we're being silly. So we just best make it 39. to stay serious and not farcical. Customary blue goo, delicious. If it was edible, put it on my toast. Oh, my hands are shaking today, 'cause my blood sugar is so low. Intermediate wheel. He's screwing from a mile away. A lot of you seem to have some issues with my singing, so out of spite, I've decided to bring out an album. Don't make me do it. The more you hurt my feelings about my singing, the more determined I will become releasing an album. So you've been warned. If you don't want that album to be released, then just say I'm a good singer, and that will be enough. I suppose you could put it after, but it's just gonna move around, isn't it? I've made an executive decision to do it before. I would have liked to oil this little bit here where the spring touches the jumper, but the palette fork jewel is just there and I don't want to risk any thick oil getting onto that, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. Some of you asked me whether you can oil the palette fork before you put it in. You can, but once you've oiled it and you start faffing around with it and it touches the sides or it touches the wheels or gears, then that oil is just gonna go somewhere where it's not supposed to go. So if you can get your palette fork in without touching anything else, then yeah, go for it. Otherwise, install it, secure it, and then you know that there's less chance of the oil going all over the gaff.
What? All them jewels, and it only beats at 18,000 beats per hour. Give it a couple of small taps and that should be fine. Oh, this central gear that will be attached to the rotor is going to sit in that central jewel there. You can lube the jewel or the arbor, or we'll put a little bit on both in this gyromatic automatic mechanism with the two gyrotrons, and that sits there, and then the rotor will go around that. Get a couple of screws in there, and then we can do a bit of oiling. So we've got something slightly thicker on this central arbor, V5 or HP 1300. We've got some 9010 on the gyrotrons. Autobots, transform! You could even put some D5 on there afterwards. We need a little bit of lubrication just here, or that jewel just there. Now you guys always ask me, do I ever have any parts left over? Guess what? I've got 2 screws left over here. Can anybody guess what they're for? Yes, young man in the back with the Nekkid Watchmaker t-shirt on. So usually when you put the movement in the cleaning machine, it will vibrate the heck out of the dial feet screws. So usually if you've got a couple of screws left over, it's probably the dial feet screws. Nice t-shirt, by the way, young man. So there you go. So what we're going to do about this crown, I think this is an Elgin crown. So I'd rather have a blank crown rather than the wrong brand. A little bit of a spring in it. $17. That's nice. I don't usually use brown straps that often, so maybe I can use a brown one this time. It's a nice period style one. Oh, that's nice. Oh yeah, that is nice. So there you have it, friends. A watch with more jewels than the crown jewels. But more jewels doesn't necessarily mean better. There was a time when companies just tried to cram in as many jewels as possible than their competitors for marketing reasons. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one and found it useful. Thank you for chilling out with me around the campfire while I sang. Hello? Where is everyone gone? Oh well, looks like it's just gonna be me sitting around the campfire again then. Was it something I said? But since I did wonderfully sing you a song, you have no choice but to hit that subscribe button. If you don't, then I'm dropping an album. Look after yourselves, folks, and take care of one another. Peace, love, and blessings to you all. And if the Almighty wills, I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra a bit.